What's up, everybody? Long time no talk. Let's do a nightly analysis action review. Check out what happened. So we had another high time frame. We had another small candle day, kind of consolidating around the highs. Now, I mean, typically a consolidation like this that lasts just a few candles, like this is pretty bullish, consolidating around the high with increasing. You'd expect maybe a gap up, um, or something like that, or a push. On SPY, um, it doesn't look quite as good, but it's still not bad. Just as candles, that doesn't look as good as the ES chart. But still, this is pretty fairly bullish. We have some fibs to work with, and fibs on the daily are pretty decent. They can show, start above here, touch the 161, push. Here you can expect touch the 261, bullish day, gap up above the 161, stuff like that. On the QQQ, fib out this candle here. The 161 provided the support the last many days, gapped up over the 161, got support from it. This tag, the 161 and the 5 daily, the daily 5 SMA, pushing off. NQ chart looking pretty bullish. I'm actually going to go ahead and sync these globally. NQ or the QQQ looking pretty bullish. The Qs got the gap up, also the 161 support, right? Just like the SPY. SPY's not coming down to actually touch it though. So then go over to the NQ chart. Drop some fibs on this, but really they're kind of pretty dang similar, except they don't come down and actually touch it. You see the Qs already kind of consolidating upward. It's made this one kind of makes me think the momentum might be a little drained. I got a modified RSI for the daily chart here. Nothing like a short when it gets over hot or anything. But once a red day comes off of being in the over hot, it can often follow through. Some examples of that not happening are like this. Comes through with a red day next. Stuff like that. So if I actually look at it, and the RSI is still over the average, I mean the max are still looking up. You got the 4-hour chart on the NQ looking fairly bullish. I mean, right over hot, right? I suppose the 4-hour chart actually gives a little bit more credence to the over hot once a red candle actually comes through. So if we actually get a red candle, you can expect maybe another red one on the 4-hour or something like that. The ES, might as well throw that fib. The ES as well. Sync that globally. Sync this global. It should be showing up here. Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, pretty dang bullish. And we got the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour looking up. Daily RSI went kind of down. I mean, MACD went kind of down, got tired, pushes back up. You got the, if I go over to the 30-minute, let's put some anchors on the SPY. Take off that lower band for now. Off that buy signal, you can see that ran the next buy signal. Let's go put that on the lows, the move that started the run over. We still have not back tested it, so it's an untested buy signal VWAP. You can expect some support there. You can kind of do that one. I wouldn't worry about these too much. My main one here is going to be this untested buy signal off the bottom. It's going to be big. Go to the top. Kind of pushed up past it. Grab one there. I mean, maybe these are kind of relevant, but you see it already got the bounce here, and now it's kind of pushing out. So I wonder if that is lending to perhaps more bullishness. If I go over, let's drop the same anchors on NQ or Q on the Qs. Whatever, close enough. Put that here on the low. We go also untested on the Qs. Put one up here on the breakup. Oh, super. This is actually kind of showing that there's been not a whole lot of volume actually pushing this up. It's kind of flattening. So that's something there. Might come back down for a bit of a retest. Oh, that's pretty nice. Showed the support on today from that anchor. All right, and then I go over to the VIX. Take a look on the 30. VIX is super low. Decreasing most. Yeah, oh, it actually got a little bit of the pump today. But I don't do too much VIX analysis. I'd have to learn more before I actually make a credible opinion on that. All right, now let's review today's action. Today we had. Should probably go ahead and make this like a 4-panel or something. But yeah. So today's action. Oh, now we're just grinding on up with the gap up. Very interesting. Gonna have their fun overnight, and then nothing in the morning probably. But today on the open, the 10-minute EMAs were looking pretty good. It's 10 EMAs were looking pretty good. You got the there's a 10 flip on the open. You go long off the EMAs. I mean, pretty much all the way up. I never really came back down to the EMAs until here. Then you got a 10 flip down. You can start taking shorts and all that. But the 10 EMAs are still green. And then eventually, around like 11, so 11 to 12 is like the chop time. You get the positive flip, but the two EMAs aren't aligned for a while. Then eventually you get the negative flip, and then you get some more shorts. All right. And then, eventually like 2:30 or whatever. I mean, you get a positive flip, the EMAs aren't aligned, so nothing really to do there. So today you played pretty decently off of this strat. And then what I'd be looking for tomorrow, let's go over to the Mac dashboard. I mean, the weekly, this is the weekly right now. It's the 4-hour, the 1 hour, the 30-minute, all looking positive for NQ. If this continues, might go ahead and see some significant bullishness. But what I really don't like is, this sort of constant pushing up here. I mean, like this is pretty crazy. Right here, I mean, it's been it's only 60 points up at this point. Okay, so I think what would I perhaps be looking for tomorrow is if we are still over the 161, I kind of still expect that to get some support. So probably, we're gonna start in a gap up probably somewhere around like here. Maybe come up and touch the 261 if we gap up really heavy. I'm not too sure about that so far. We're like, we are up. We're up 70 points from close, so we're up about $2. So we're somewhere around here. It's probably going to be around where the gap is, maybe up here, who knows, or maybe it comes back down, we don't get a gap, but I think this will probably continue or at least maintain, especially after this. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think if we start above this 161, that's definitely pretty bullish. For the SPY as well, probably going to also start above that 161. And then if I go ahead and drop anchors, I mean, considering that we're probably going to gap up, and we didn't even touch this anchor live, I'd be looking for to back test this anchor for support. Same thing on the SPY if we gap up, but actually what's going on with ES overnight? Okay, so ES is also ripping up overnight. So SPY will also probably be in a gap up. And the gap up that's pushed pretty high, but we're doing it off of the 5 daily SMA, so it's at least catching up to find support to continue pushing. And I mean, you can't really call for the reversal, so I just keep following this trend here. I mean, it looks like a pretty good spot to kind of roll, especially considering the fact that we will probably gap up. I mean, unless we don't, but I mean, if you look at this one, you know, this lasted, what, Thursday to today. This one lasted Monday to, so just 2 days, 2 full days of range. So depending on where we start, probably expect to see, you know, some sort of probably BSing, you know, come back down. Maybe get like the 161 area. I'm not totally sure. You know, it really depends what happens tomorrow. But I mean, it's hard to say too much because I mean it's 5 small range candles in a row. They are consolidating upward. You know, I mean, you can see something like this, just a straight gap up and then a little bit more force. You know, I mean, it's just could see something like this, right? A gap up and then just an absolute dump. So, I mean, it's if you really look at these are the all-time highs for Qs, right? Both of those examples are all-time high, and they are totally um, the opposite. I mean, they look fairly similar, right? It's a strong gap up, strong candle, consolidation increasing, sudden gap up. This one absolutely dumped. And then big push, consolidation increasing, gap up, and this one pushed a little further. So, you know, it's hard to even say what's really gonna happen because if you look at these two examples, I mean, really, what is exactly the difference between those two examples? I suppose this one gapped up all the way into the 3.5 Celts, and this one did not get all the way there. So that's something, but this one also gapped above the Bollinger. You know, I mean, these are just lines on the chart. So, but considering these two examples, I think it's going to be really hard to tell what exactly is going on. And we're just going to have to go with the internals, you know, not the internals, the technicals tomorrow of just seeing what's going to happen on the simple layout here. I'm going to go for focusing on mainly just this layout. I'm going to see how that works out. And yeah, take it from there, really. I think trying to just keep it more simple. So yeah, I mean, not really a whole lot to say, but I think the important takeaway that I want to marinate and remember tomorrow is that these two examples right here show how an all-time high gap up, which it's not really an all-time high gap up. Well, it's not at all an all-time high gap up. But I mean, we could gap over this gap. I mean, we're kind of getting there a little bit at the time. We're under it, but if we get if we gap up over this gap, I think that'll be a huge deal. Let's go ahead and sync that globally for the gap. Kind of a 3-part gap, isn't it? I mean, a little bit. So we're going to see about that. Yeah, I think if we gap up over the gap, that'll be pretty bullish because then that gap will hold the support. If we're not quite gapped up over the gap, if we're still kind of in this wick, then I think it'll kind of lend as resistance. So I think that's at least a little bit of direction we could have. Yeah, and then if I pull up the NQ, let's go over to the Qs on the 15. Clear that. Go ahead and throw this on the low. That got hit, that got hit, that got hit. So perhaps a live tag of that anchor here. Did not, this is not a live tag, this is after hours. So maybe a live tag of that as well. So I'll be looking for that. So yeah, I mean, three things, a few things, I guess just to recap, is that this strong gap up, upward consolidation indicates this gap up here, probably just going to keep going overnight. We're going to have to see. This could be two different things given by these examples, right? So I think the gap up seems pretty clear, but then what happens as a result of the gap up is certainly not clear. And then lastly, the 161. I mean, if we gap up into the gap, I mean, maybe even have something crazy, right? Or if we gap up under the gap, we could get a big shove back down all the way to the 161. So I think the as for what is actually going to happen from this upward consolidation and probably gap up, not totally sure, but I think this gap over here will give me some decent little bias from there. So it's kind of the plan. Don't get ahead of myself or anything, thinking that I know exactly what's going to happen. And we're just gonna have to see what comes through in the morning. Gap up. Does this get kind of washed back down to start the day right in line? So gonna look back at it overnight. Yeah, and then later on, I'm gonna look at zones as well. A mentor sent me some information on zoning based on the futures chart, so I'm gonna start doing that as well right after I watch that vid. So, all right, I think that does it. I'll go ahead and fire this up again in the morning.